gonna go ahead and preface everything I'm about to say by saying that I'm no game developer, I'm not a story writer, and I'm in no position to have the task of directing anyone to do anything. I'm honestly just someone who loves Batman. That's why we're all here at the end of the day, right? We love these characters, but at the end of the day, we live in the shadow of the Bat. We're here for Batman. And you know, before making this video, I watched the first video I made about the game just to see where my head was at back then, and boy, were we all in for a surprise. This isn't necessarily a review for the game because, well, I don't think either me or my wallet was okay with dropping $70 on what we all thought was a complete shot in the dark. So feel free to write off everything I'm about to say just because I didn't buy the game. Although it would be nice if you could just hear me out. But I was sure to watch the GOAT himself, the Rad play through the entirety of the main story, and after getting to the ending, I'm really thinking to myself like, wow. This game might have been really doomed from the start. And that's not to say I personally didn't give it a chance, because I really did, at least without buying it. But no, I really did give this game a fair shot for Rocksteady's latest creation after essentially 9 years of waiting. And what do we end up with? The epitome of mediocre and a missed opportunity. It's almost as if Rocksteady executively produced a game made by another company, and you can still tell that because a lot of heart and passion and soul was put into this game, and just by the detail alone, you can tell that this game was made by the people that we know and love. But it seems to fall victim to more modern trends in gaming. In the other video I made talking about the game, I talked about how the trend of the Battle Pass system has really ruined a lot of good games and the longevity of those games simply to artificially prolong the lifespan of the game. Oh, and for money too. The live service aspects really seem to put the nail in the coffin for this game even before it got the chance to breathe, and like all live service games, unfortunately, they all have to be put down one day. And I think that fact really ruined the legend of this game. And when I say legend, I mean that by the sheer impact this game could have had. When we think about the Arkham games, we think about how legendary they were in their time and how legendary they still are 15 years after the fact. And I had faith that this game really could have continued that same legacy brought upon the games we know and love. And like I said in my previous video, go check that out if you haven't, by the way. It really does seem like the executives at WB are only seeing dollar signs when it comes to the Arkham games because of how intrinsically linked the story for this game is to the live service model. And trust me, receiving continuous updates with new content seemingly for free sounds nice on paper, but I can't really recall one game studio that has really nailed the subcategory of a live service game. Like, Fortnite has really caused irreversible damage to just about any game with a good story that wants to try and follow in that same direction. And for this game, it seems as though that business practice was so intertwined with the story that they kind of just leave you with a half-baked story because it truly climaxes when you kill this first Brainiac. So all the progress that you just went through kind of becomes meaningless when you told that there's 13 more Brainiacs that you have to kill.
You mean 12?
Yeah, I meant 12, sorry. But it leaves you sort of just feeling deflated and feeling like I went through all that and it's still not over, and yet I have to wait to see where the story ends up. And it really adds insult to injury when even the game is like, mission accomplished, question mark? It's just like the game egged you on for hours on end just to realize that you have to essentially wait for the story of the Suicide Squad to be completed. And more about the story, I know I could absolutely rip into the game like I know some people are, but I have a deep respect for the people that are simply just doing their jobs. And you know, a few weeks back, I had learned that a Rocksteady employee had very tragically passed away just due to the building hate and aimless criticisms people were throwing at a game that hadn't even released yet. And I don't want to delve too deep into the entirety of that right now because truthfully, I don't know the details of everything, and it's probably best for me and everyone else, and especially the people involved, that I divert my attention elsewhere. So what I had basically taken away from all that is, at the end of the day, this company we know and love were given the direct order to make this game we have here. It was either that or you were out of a job. Simple. So like I said before, I know I could really rag on this game for every single little thing that I didn't like about it, but I'm gonna try my best to not be so extremely critical because I know that people just like you and I were responsible for giving us an entertaining experience to indulge in. So with that being said, I can confidently but respectfully say that I didn't love Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Throughout the entirety of the game, it really felt as though that we were only following a story progressed by gimmick after gimmick. Cash, Gizmo, Hack, Toyman, Penguin, and Poison Ivy all got introduced within the story simply to provide the player with gimmicks to be more effective in combat. And while it might have been the easiest way to introduce new gameplay mechanics, it does a complete disservice to the characters involved, and it does absolutely nothing to provide a compelling story for why they even care to stick around in the first place. And talking more about the characters, in my previous video about the game, I also talked about my concerns on how they were going to bridge the gap between this game and the Arkham series, and honestly, they've done absolutely nothing to convince us that these people and these people are somehow supposed to be the same. It really feels like Batman was shoehorned into having second thoughts about his self-imposed exile, and for him to now seemingly want to come out of the shadows and help form this new team of heroes, like, it just seems very out of character for this specific Batman. He had trouble letting people into the circle of trust before, so what the hell changed within 5 years for him to realize that maybe some help wouldn't be such a bad thing? And with Harley, for one, I appreciate her overall new direction and how she seems the most human she's ever been, because back in the Arkham series, if you take a look back, she always seemed like slightly more important cannon fodder for the Joker, but in this, she really shows that she's her own person now, and I can really appreciate that. But like with Batman, what the hell changed within her life over the past 5 years for her to now come off as so seemingly independent? Now, the answer to that may be obvious because of the time in between Joker's death and now, but why didn't we get to see that? The game does absolutely no service for how things were and why things are so seemingly different now. With the introduction of this new Deadshot, it was definitely more tongue-in-cheek because they only ever really touched on his backstory in audio tapes and throwaway lines of dialogue, but even after listening to all of it, it really just leaves me with more questions than I have answers. And speaking about being left dissatisfied, the death of Arkham Batman. That's it. That's how the story of our Batman ends. It wasn't the Joker or Two-Face or just a punk who got lucky. It was just a simple bullet to the head. And it's just like, that's how you put to rest this character you've been building up for the last 15 years? Just a bullet to the head? That's it? Feels pretty lackluster now, doesn't it? And well, that's because it is. And that's the case for every member of the League, except for Wonder Woman and Green Lantern. All their deaths simply served as a segue to get to the ending, which we now know isn't really the ending. And I know our group of newly reformed criminals aren't the most fond of these heroes, so it makes sense as to why they give an iota of care about killing them, but we care. We care about these heroes, so to have their send-offs be so bland, it really just puts a sour taste in everybody's mouth. And especially to those that bought this game to really see how the League fell under Brainiac's rule. And even if this is a bait and switch, smoke and mirrors type of thing, whether this be our Justice League from this universe or our alternate version of them, it is still absolutely no way to send off such beloved characters. And honestly feels like the League were only written into the story to just ensure that you'd buy the game. You see Wonder Woman, you see Green Lantern, you see Superman, you see the Flash, and most importantly, you see Batman, but not just any Batman, our Batman. So to see our big five of the Justice League all united for the first time in this universe just to be killed off in such a spiritless way, it just kinda hurts. And touching a little bit on the gameplay, and I really do mean a little bit because obviously I haven't played the game, but I do just have a couple thoughts to share. To me at least, it feels as though that they had to add so many cutscenes because of how gameplay focused the DNA of this game really is. And the two words I have to describe the gameplay is just brain dead repetition. I guess that's three, but whatever. Throughout the entirety of the game, we're being barked at to go here, kill these aliens, go there, protect this thing from the aliens, and go here escorting someone while killing aliens. It just seems so extremely mundane and boring of a task every single time we're hounded at by Waller or Rick Flag. And you know, when watching gameplay, it's literally like the visual representation of slamming a McDonald's Sprite and doing a line of booger sugar. I think this game is just the definition of a sensory overload. And I don't know about you, but this might be a sign of me getting older, but my brain isn't nearly as big as it should be in order to process the amount of information that's going on at once. And even in one of the Rabrats videos, he had said something to the effect of, I guess you just keep playing this game until you hate yourself. So if mindlessly grinding for the best gear is what this game has to offer past its story, then I want no part, and honestly these days it's just something I unfortunately don't have the time to do anymore. I have better things to do, like talk to you. But yeah, the endless gameplay loop just isn't for me. But if you yourself enjoy the constant loot grind and the variety of missions this game offers, then who am I to tell you that you shouldn't enjoy it? And honestly, that goes for this entire game. If you enjoyed the game from start to finish and plan to sit and wait for every episode of story to come out in the future, then I'm glad that the 9 years between Arkham Knight and Suicide Squad was worth it for you. But for me, it just wasn't. And now, aside from all the things that I didn't particularly like about the game, there were actually parts of the game that I genuinely enjoyed. I think that beyond the story, the way that this group interacts with each other is damn near flawless. They bounce off of each other in this really natural way, and honestly, it's something not too far from what you would see in a group of friends in real life. And I don't know about you, but the dialogue in this game is fucking hilarious. And it's yet another thing I can confidently say Rocksteady did a stellar job at. While it can definitely interrupt some sentimental moments in the game, I think in just about every other aspect, it's damn funny. And you can't lie, this shit right here is hilarious.
You know, killing Flash is on our to-do list. How about a team up?
You didn't let her finish. We should team up. Someone is touching me.
Not me. Actually, it might be me.
I don't mind.
I thought you were a handle. Wait. What am I holding on to?
But aside from the humor in the game, one thing I can definitely appreciate is just the overall attention to detail. Seen all throughout the city is countless Easter eggs and references to other DC characters, and when I say they're all throughout the city, I really mean that. Like, they're littered almost everywhere you go, and that's something I can definitely appreciate. It's the small things, that's what I can appreciate. And you have to admit, the level of detail in the character model and animation is next level. So much so that they even modeled acne on Green Lantern's face. A small, literally insignificant detail in a game that suffers from so many other shortcomings, but it's the small details like that where I can really tell that the team of character artists really put their all into their work. And seen only in the codex are all the bios for all the characters in the game with these really cute quotes from each one of them that really displays the amount of emotion that they show off. Like, I really wonder, what the hell did Harley say that was so obscene that it had to get redacted by Amanda Waller? But yeah, the attention to detail in this game is really just that good. Another thing I definitely appreciated is the effort put into the set design. In the beginning of the game, going through the Batman experience I think was done very well, at least in terms of how everything looked visually. And just about all the boss fights, I think the set designers really did a fantastic job with just showing how lethal the Justice League could really be. Going up against Demon Batman, an annoyed Green Lantern, and a pissed off Superman, all great additions. And well, it seems like I've ran out of nice things to say about the game, so now, on to my final thoughts. When I first announced this game, I really did want everything to go well, and if you can stand to watch an outdated video, you can understand that same sentiment. And at this point, I must sound like a broken record when I say how much I love the Arkham games, and truthfully, no amount of words from my notes app read into a microphone and edited on Adobe Premiere to be uploaded to YouTube for you to watch while you're taking a shit can truly put you into perspective on how much these games shaped my life. So to hear that this game would be continuing that legacy really did mean a lot to me, and it's just so extremely unfortunate to see this game turn out the way it did. And you know, when making some other videos, I obviously would have to get footage of the Arkham games, and on Steam they have this little blurb for Suicide Squad saying, quote, "Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is a genre-defying third-person action shooter." Genre-defying? You sure about that? And you know, truthfully, while I could be so extremely angry and upset with the way this game turned out and how they put my favorite character to rest, at the end of the day, I'm simply just so extremely appreciative of being able to hear Kevin Conroy for one last time.